Hello and welcome back to another Tech Articles. In today's article, I'm going to answer a question from the FlowMattic Facebook group again, but this one is about ACPT. ACPT is a custom post type, custom fields plugin, a competitor to ACF and Meta fields and pods. It's relatively new on the scene. I happen to have a Lifetime Pro license to it, having purchased one during their original launch. And they are definitely gaining popularity, and they are they are listening to their users and developing new uses and actually becoming quite common in the field. And the question was about passing ACPT's forms through to a webhook, so that you've got that data. And for this, I'm going to use FlowMattic. I use FlowMattic in all my videos, and I'm going to do two parts to this video. The first part of this will be using a webhook. It requires a tiny bit of PHP, which I'll explain in a second, using ACPT's forum, because this isn't for FlowMattic that you need the PHP like in some of my other videos. It's actually ACPT that requires a little bit of PHP to make this work. But I'm going to use FlowMattic as my automator of choice here. But again, it will work with others. And I will do it. The first way I will do it will be via webhook, which will work with pretty much everything. And I will do a second, very short piece on doing it with a do action trigger in FlowMattic, which for those users that are using it on the same FlowMattic on the same installation as they are the web form. And obviously the FlowMattic the webhook will work with Pabbly, FlowMattic, particularly with regards to FlowMattic. If it's on a separate installation, it's the easiest way of passing that data to a separate install with a separate installation of FlowMattic. Whereas if it's on the actual site that you've got the form, I would use the do action integration. So I'm going to go over to GitHub first, and I've put the gist up anyway. And there's two separate snippets here, one for each type. So you would use this one for the webhook, you'd use this one for the do action. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the webhook. And if we go over to ACPT's site, which is over here, and we look at their site reference about forms, and this is in their documents section of their site, you can see as we get down to here, there's a bit about how you can get the data out, and it basically explains this in very basic PHP terms, that the data comes from the post and any files become files. Now in my snippets I've only done the post data, not files, but files would work the same way, and you could modify the snippets to work with files. For simplicity, and because I didn't want to upload a load of files and build a massive web form, I've just done post data here, but it follows exactly the same for files. So it's not difficult to amend either of these snippets that are on the gist to work with files. You can see here they get the form data exactly the same way. If you wanted files, you do files exactly the same way, and then you'd send that as part of your post or as part of the data you're sending as part of your do action trigger. So the first thing we're going to do is go and use our setup of our install. So the first thing we need to do is head over to ACPT and turn on forms, which is located within the settings, and you need to enable forms and save, which has been saved. The next thing I need to do is to head over to FlowMattic, and I want to create a new workflow, and it will, in this case, it be a webhook trigger, and I want to copy that. I want to save that to live, save that workflow. Now that's done, I want to insert that into a copy that I have of the gist from GitHub, and I've got that off screen so that I can copy and paste it in when we need it. I'm then going to go to ACPT and select forms, and I create a new form. I'm just going to call it form, select an action, PHP. I'm going to copy our PHP snippet with the modified, so this has got our webhook in it to capture. And the rest of it is the same as what's in this raw version of the gist. which I will include in the comments in the description. And from there, I need to then populate, doesn't really matter, page, and I'm going to push save. Put pages for now. Save. So that should submit the form data. There's PHP there, so that should submit our form data. Let's save that. We've got a form. I'm going to copy this shortcode and I'm going to put it into a page. Just going to call this page. Yeah. So let's go back to the form. Click manage, and I'm going to do this in reverse actually because of the way it goes. So I'm going to put the button and then I'm going to put the email here. So we'll say the first one here is going to be our name. I'm going to delete the descriptions because it makes it look a bit weird. Look at descriptions. I'm going to call this one email, which it already is. This button we'll just rename to submit. And we'll push save. And now we've got a basic form that should appear on our page, which we have. I'm now going to put our workflow in FlowMattic into webhook capture mode. And then I'm going to submit our form with some test data. And that captured our response. So now we've captured our response. That shows you how to connect your ACPT form directly to a webhook using that PHP snippet. And if that's what you want to do, if you're using this with FlowMattic or Zapier or Pabbly, then that is exactly what you need to do. Now, as I said at the start of the video, I would, if there was on the same site, do it in a different way. And the way I would do that is I would use a do action in FlowMattic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do that as an example workflow. And this time it's going to be a custom action workflow and a custom action trigger. And then I'm going to copy this over to my document. And actually all I really need here is this. And I will put that into our example. I will then go back and I will make this a live workflow. And again, I'm not going to run through what you could do with the data. That's going to depend purely on what you want to do. This is purely about getting the data from ACPT into your automatic system of choice. As I said, in mine, it's going to be FlowMattic. So now I've got that, and off screen I have a copy of this GIST with this workflow ID in it. I'm going to go back to ACPT, and I'm going to go back to our form, and I'm going to edit our form, and I'm going to replace our PHP code with our do action code, and that's just got our do action from our new workflow and the same data as the previous one. I'm going to save that. I'm going to come back to our web form. I'm going to reload it. I'm going to put Jim3 and 3@3.com. And then I'm going to make sure the workflow is on capture mode. And I'm going to submit our workflow. And now we come back to our workflow and we've got our response. Same Jim. And if we scroll down to email, 3@3.com. And that's how I would do it if it was on the same site. I would use a do action rather than a webhook. A webhook, if you're sending to different sites or to different automation plugins or scripts or services such as Zapier or Pabbly, that's how I do it. But if your FlowMattic instance happens to be on the same site as your ACPT install, then I would actually do it this way round rather than doing it via a webhook, because you're just triggering a PHP action rather than sending your data to the webhook. And yeah, that's the end of this video. It's a relatively short video covering a couple of FlowMattic items, but really it shows you how to get your ACPT data from ACPT into your automation plugin of choice. Hopefully it's of use to you. If you like the video, please leave a comment if there's something you would like me to look into, and yeah, please subscribe to the channel. I will add at the end of this video here that when I've recorded this video, I've had some issues with ACPT. So if you try and recreate this and it appears that the data is being lost in this form here, this custom handling keeps disappearing, I am going to submit it as a bug request after I've recorded this video. It happened to me probably 15 times while I've been recording this video. and actually it's why it's so choppy, because I've had to cut and start again when the code's disappeared. And I think it's a bug. I can't imagine it's by design. Thank you very much for watching.